we go through so many different seasons in life.
Yeah.
And that can be economic crisis. That could be marriage. That could be uh, um, a total assortment of different reasons why we make the choices we do in life. But what do you feel is the most important thing that contributes to yours and other people's success through these seasons? Would it be vision, faith, planning, self-discipline, just to name a few? What are the things that you think as a characteristics and the things we need to focus on to go through things such as COVID-19, this new normal we're in now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the ups and downs, seasons, if you want to call it that, are, like I said, they do get you. And like I said, if I know it was coming, I may not have done it. You have to manage the ups and downs. You have to, and that's a topic in itself, of course. You mentioned a couple things: vision, spiritual belief, anything to manage the ups and downs. And oddly enough, I would say to a young person, the advice I would give is watch the ups. If I think back in my career, I've had some incredible good fortune, some really ups, big ups, some successes and things we were doing on the business side. And I would say that the risk of overreacting on business successes is one of the biggest things. In other words, some people adjust their lifestyle for their best month ever. They'll have a big month. Maybe they're a realtor or a consultant. They have a big month and they adjust their lifestyle to the best month ever. That is obviously not good advice. You have to stay even keeled. Good things and bad things will happen in life and in business, but in the scope of context of business, it absolutely does happen. And you have to be even keeled. Doesn't mean you don't show some excitement, doesn't mean you don't enjoy the moment, but you got to understand it's just a phase. It's a season, if you want to call it that. It's an ups and downs, and everybody gets them. And that's the other thing you learn through experience. When I was younger and in business, I was getting whacked maybe and something wasn't going right. I'm thinking, oh, this is the only guy that this is happening to. Well, you realize as you get older, and there's some comfort in this. What's the saying? Misery loves company. Everybody gets whacked. Everybody gets their turn in the barrel. And that's just another term. It's just the way life is. And you have to manage that. And the people that can't manage that, they probably fail. And again, it's oddly enough, I think the highs it's more critical to teach young people, watch the highs. It's not always going to be good. And it's just, you're fortunate, you've been blessed to have a high. Awesome. But typically, not to be pessimistic or anything, but you got to watch the highs, because we all know what's around the corner. When life's going really, really good, everybody learns, and you don't know this at 25. You figure it out at 40. It's like, you know what? It's not always going to be this good. Whether it's the stock market on a tear. One of the biggest things we find with the young trades on our site, they start to do really well. A lot of them go out on their own, start their own business. And I tell them, I said, guys, and they buy the $100,000 pickup truck, and they think it's never going to be anything but good. And what I say to those guys is, you got to manage the good times, because trust me, it won't always be this good. And there's nothing wrong with the bad times, because it allows you to appreciate the good times. So the seasons, managing the seasons is a critical success factor for sure. You've got to, it's okay to be an excitable type person, but you need to manage that. And if you get too up or too down, some people have a tough time getting too down. They get down on themselves. So that's not right either. And one of the best things to learn for the young people to not get down on themselves, I find is, and I already alluded to it, everybody else gets beat up too at times. It's part of, it's just part of the learning curve. And at the end of the day, you come out of the tunnel wiser. It's part of us getting, wiser as we get older. These experiences that we're thrown, they help that, but they do have to be managed.
Yeah, I'd agree. From my business experience, it is a really critical thing to not overspend or to grow at too exponential of a rate, because nothing is sustainable forever. Everything is passing. And I really like the way that you worded that. Use that that uptick to store away, be a little bit of a squirrel,
Yeah.
because it's sunny out today, but the rain will come. All seasons change.
Yeah.
And that leads us right into, we're going into winter. No, actually, we've entered winter in the sense that we've got our first brisk, cold feeling that things have changed. There's a new normal that's coming. We're still not 100% about that. So how do we define that now in your mind with success? What are the right things that we can do in these different seasons of transition, right? Because we're in transition right now to new normal.
Yeah.
What do you recommend for people so that they can still have whatever their ideal life goals are, not to lose focus of their purpose and what they're setting out to, but adjust their cadence or their pace for a marathon, not a sprint?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing is I'm guessing pretty much everybody missed this one. Nobody planned in their business for COVID-19. It's definitely a curveball, and it doesn't happen a lot in life. Although I must say we've had two curveballs. We had the 2009 fiasco. That was pretty bad. That was, people had no idea how bad that was. The world did manage to blow itself up financially, and that had a ripple effect. And 10 years later, we have this, and this is perhaps even worse. We'll see. But the biggest thing people have to realize is nobody knows what the new normal is. And if somebody says this is what's going to happen, they're not being realistic. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going to happen to oil prices. They don't know what's going to happen to real estate prices. We can use prudence and rational thought to guess, but nobody knows. And that makes it fun because we're in this game and nobody knows what's going to happen. So it is a game. And I look at business as a bell curve sitting in class. Business is a bell curve. And I tell my staff this. No matter how bad we might think we're doing on a given day as a business, we just have to be better than the guy beside us. We have to be better than the other builders. And we're hard on ourselves, and that's how we probably got to where we are. But it's kind of that attitude that will help you in this new norm. The first thing everybody has to realize is nobody knows what's gonna happen. So we're applying prudence. Hopefully a business is not overly stretched. A lot of businesses have been coping with zero sales. Well, what business plan copes with zero sales? I mean, do you guys have a business plan for zero sales? We don't. You just have to hang in there. So again, the misery loves company. The whole world, there isn't a business on planet Earth that is not being affected right now. Now, there is a few of the technology companies, they're actually being affected positively. Amazon, Nvidia, Microsoft, everybody who's involved with doing it, Zoom, right? So there is some that have been affected, but most of them have not been affected positively. So it's just our turn in the barrel, and you hope that your business-wise, you hope that it's structured so that it can sustain a significant reduction in cash flow. And it's just one of those challenges. It's one of those seasons, and nobody's got it figured out. We're just all, glued to the TV, wondering what the next stats are on this COVID thing, which I'm thankful to say is actually diminishing now. I was just sick to death of listening every day at 6 o'clock of how many inflated numbers they are. How bad could we make this look to be dramatic, right? Because it was, I got sick of it. Plus, I think there was an element of overreaction there, but it is real. Whether the COVID-19 thing in this example that you're using is a big deal in itself, it doesn't matter. The way the Western world anyway has reacted to it, the way the Western world governments have reacted to it, it absolutely has made this a life-changing moment. Whether the disease itself has, but the collateral damage that's caused from government decisions has affected every single business, not just Canada, but in the Western world. There's like Sweden didn't blow themselves up. There's a couple of examples of they didn't follow, but for the most part, the United States started and we divided everything by 10 and did the same thing. That is going to have a lasting impact on everything. And just on finish that note, until there's some element of social distancing, as long as there's some element of social distancing required by government, it is going to impact almost every business. restaurants, pubs. It impacts the way we build. We're building 25% slower than we were in January. There's nothing we can do about it. And it's just one of those things, and you have to manage it. We didn't plan for this. We have
No.
no plan for this. We're just handling it like everybody else, and doing the best we can. And that's where experience, if you have good processes, if you have, all the normal business 101 things, if your family, if you've got all sorts of fires in your life and this hits you, good luck trying to manage this on top of everything else. I guess if there's a takeaway here, it's just reinforces, if a person can manage things in a somewhat stable basis, when you do get curveballs, and this is a big one, you can manage it. But business and life, we haven't touched on the life part of it as much, but they are intertwined, man. Like you really have to have some stability in all aspects of it. What's the saying? Happy wife, happy life. It's true. If your home life isn't right, then it's hard to manage challenges when you get in your business, when you get the curveballs. And we have a curveball right now.
So that leads us beautifully, just well done, into a really important question then, right? How do we create our ideal form of life in this season of winter that's happening to us now? And what are the opportunities that you see? And I think most importantly, would you be willing to share some of the routines or the rituals that you have? And Bob, I'd love yours, because you're a master in the area of relationship and creating magical moments that way too. What are the routines and rituals that you're doing with balancing our life of family, occupation, health and wellness, all these other these areas and chunks of our life to help us get through this time and this season?
Yeah, and there's that magic word again, balance, right? So at my age, I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm able to have more of a balanced life. But if this was 25 years ago, I would not be in a position, if my business was hit with what's happening now, I would be a maniac. I would be 24/7, because that was my nature back then. That's probably why I'm able to be in the situation I'm in now. But it would have been different back then when I was younger and my business wasn't as structured. So I think that question it has to be taken in context of what part of the journey is your business at. So if you're in a mature business we have people that have been with us for 25 years, it helps a lot. So we're fortunate, and you basically just try and again stay even keeled. There's, as far as routines go, there's certain things that we are doing differently now than we were. We are, as much as my background is accounting, we're definitely more numbers oriented now. We are doing everything we can to get our cost structure down. So I mentioned, for example, that our business, we're building at 25% slower. So we have the same cost structure that we had in January. Well, we're now, our factory, if you will, is building at 25% slower than it was in January. We can't keep our same cost structure. It's common sense. So we're doing things to get our cost structure in line with the new level of productivity we can do, and it's government enforced. We can't work. If we do, we get fined heavily. WorkSafe is on our site 3 days a week type thing. But as far as the routine goes, with the new routine here, me personally, I talk to my managers more. I love numbers, but I'm not involved in the day-to-day as much, but I'm stepping back in and paying a little bit more attention than I normally would in the various departments. Most of the department heads report to me at some level. So we're definitely meeting as a group a little bit more. We've started actually using this kind of technology because we had some workers that were working remotely and still are. We're doing remote manager meetings, and it's really cool. I mean, it's actually unbelievably efficient, and we're going to start employing that in our day-to-day business life moving forward. So you do learn some things when you're challenged, and again, people are very creative and resourceful, and I think people realize that they can actually function in a different way. But getting back to the rituals, we're I'm an early morning guy, so I get up. Early bird gets the worm, another saying. it's true. You don't get successful. Wayne Gretzky did not become the best hockey player in the world by sleeping in. He was an animal. He was unbalanced. He's one of those. But guess what? Messi, the soccer player, do you think he sleeps in? So certain traits that successful people have, I guess. And I've read all the same books. You know, Stephen Covey, Seven Habits of Success. That's a great book. So it talks about it. They're all kind of repetitive, and a lot of it is common sense. But I guess if you had to say what are the best rituals that you can recommend, the people that work the hardest are most likely to succeed. I don't know if you guys watched the Michael Jordan thing that's on there right now, The Last Dance, but that he was probably the most talented guy on the planet doing what he was doing. But he worked harder than everybody. It wasn't just naturally gifted talent. So did Wayne Gretzky, as an example. Sports is an easy analogy because everybody gets it. It's in your face. It does those types of principles apply to business as well. I mean, if you want to be what do you call it, a phony or whatever, and just you got to walk the walk. You've got to work hard, and those guys that do that, no different than sports. In business, that the working hard is part of your daily ritual is absolutely imperative. You got to read. So when I was younger and the business was smaller, I read more micro-oriented stuff. I read more operational driven things. I don't read that much on those items. I read more macro stuff. I read which way is the world turning. When I work, one of the things I've evolved to in this stage of my career, I guess, is I work. What do you call it? I work on my business, not at my business. So I'd say 50 to 60% of my time is trying to improve the business. I'm acutely aware of all the things we're not doing right. That's one of the things I think I've excelled at. I just, for whatever reason, some days it's a curse, I assure you, but I'm acutely aware of what's not going right in my business. And I actually find it neat. I enjoy, money aside, I like the challenge of coming and trying to build a successful, sustainable business. So my daily ritual has got a lot to do with improving the business, working on the business. The day-to-day stuff is not as much, although the COVID thing, and someday, very soon, I hope we don't even mention the word COVID, but the COVID thing has impacted my daily ritual for sure. And other rituals, I guess, with this it's safe to say that probably everybody's stress level has gone up because of what's going on in the world. So exercise. So my whether it's daily, probably not, that is part of the routine now. And if I don't exercise with the level of responsibilities that I have, it gets tough. So the exercise routine has become more important in managing the challenges we face.
Excellent comments. Wow. So much to unpack there, Heath, from Kent, just real insight into a series of habits and rituals you've developed, everything from reading to stepping back, working on your business, not in your business, relying on the people around you to do those sort of things. Thanks for sharing all that stuff, bud. When you mentioned Covey, one of his concepts was that we're often in the urgent mode and not in the important quadrant of our daily routines. And when you're at the peak of a business, there's just a ton of urgent stuff going on. You're just trying to get everything together, and there's very little time to step back, reflect on things. You're just go.
You're right.
So I see these trough times, the barrel times, as opportunities where change has to happen, and they're wonderful opportunities for us to step back and look at our businesses, look at our lives, and say, where do we want to go from here? Because loved your comment about this is fun. This is fun. Nobody knows the rules, man. It's a game. Nobody knows the rules.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be at the forefront of the rule changes, or I'm going to make the rule changes myself, because that's the brilliant thing about having no rules is leaders can step out, make new rules, and all of a sudden you're right at the forefront. Government hasn't caught up to you. Nothing's going to stop you, right?
Yeah.
You're working in a whole new playing field. And what a tremendous mindset Kent brings to this conversation with that with those thoughts. It's like, it's a game. I'm gonna, I'm not putting the words in your mouth. You're gonna make the rules, but I just love that concept. Is like, I'm excited about the next 3 years. I'm excited about the next 5 years, and let's be there creating the future that we need to create in this new world. Nicely done, bud.
Oh, very well said by both of you, and summarized up. I think that, something that is really critical is that we're focusing on the key pillars or the big rocks in our life. What is important? That for me has really been a big shift. And, I think for too long in my life, I had on a fireman hat and fireman boots, and I was running around putting out all these little fires. And just over the last several years of my journey, I've come to realize that if it's not an important issue, a big rock that fits with my purpose, my why I'm doing things, it's okay to let those fires burn themselves out. Don't waste your time, your energy, the resources on trying to make everybody happy. At the end of the day, we cannot let fear control our life. That's what I've really taken from what you just said. And that comes back to us really creating those rituals that are going to empower us every morning to start strong. We need to grow through reading and learning from people that are where we want to be, not where we are. Be careful about being around the flock, as those of a feather flock together. Are you flying with people that are all, COVID-19 or whatever the issue is in life is fulfilling the prophecy that's coming out of our own mouth? Let's look at it and say, this is a challenge. But every opportunity is wrapped in challenge. And that is a mindset. That, Kent, is something that you have exhibited through your businesses, through your life. You embrace uncertainty and go, okay, this is the truth. This is where it's at. Now, what is the next step? What do I do now that by doing it will make everything else easier or simpler?